Hi, my name is Jenny Helms, and today I want to talk about anorexia nervosa. Now, when I was first learning about anorexia, I was in high school, and I just remember learning that it was people who don't eat, and that was it. I didn't learn about any of the other signs and symptoms, and so I literally thought it was people who just don't ever put anything into their mouths, and that was the differentiating factor. So if you put a banana in your mouth, you're not anorexic. But boy, was I wrong, right? And there's so many different things that I feel, unfortunately, a lot of people don't get very well educated about these things. So here I am, hoping that I can help with that. So based on the DSM, there's a few different criteria that somebody would have to meet to be diagnosed as anorexic. And one of the biggest features is low weight. So having a low body weight, losing a large amount or a large percentage of your body weight within a short period of time. So say 20% of your body weight in 3 or 4 months, that would be very characteristic of somebody struggling. And another is going to be the restriction of food intake. And now anorexia means loss of appetite, but it's kind of a misnomer because while people are not eating, it's typically voluntary. So it's not that they're actually not hungry, it's that they're denying their hunger. And they're kind of overriding those hunger cues and just saying, all right, I'm not going to eat even though I am super hungry. So again, the restriction of food intake is also a big feature of anorexia. Another big feature is going to be the intense fear of gaining weight or becoming fat. And again, this is gonna look like somebody who is of low weight and being very obsessive about whether or not they gain a pound or not over the course of a week or a course of a month. As humans, we kind of fluctuate in weight, and that's just normal based on our bodies and water intake and all those sorts of factors. But for somebody who's struggling with anorexia, this is going to be an intense fear and almost anxiety obsession, and it's going to be something where they really, really are fearful of gaining any sort of weight at all. So this intense fear is also part of it, and that's where the nervosa comes in. Nervosa means nervous in Latin, and so there is an anxiety and fear portion of this disease. The third part is the disturbance in the way that their body is perceived. And so for most people who struggle with anorexia, they can tell you that logically they will look in the mirror and they can say, hey, I know that I'm of low body weight or that my stomach's caved in and I know that I'm lower body weight, but I feel fat. And so it's this perception of feeling fat. One of the funny things they say is fat is not a feeling. And that's really applicable here because so many people who struggle with this do say, I feel fat. And it's this feeling, not the actual, logically, again, they can know that they're thin, but this feeling of being fat, that is one of the other parts of suffering with this disease. So there's a lot of other factors and there's a lot of variance within this disease. It's not going to look the same for every person. Just for a good example, a lot of people, this looks like starting out dieting really strictly and then kind of taking it too far. So once you make your goal weight, you still surpass that and you're still restricting food intake and you're still denying your body based on hunger cues. People who struggle with this as well, they will sometimes go on binges or every now and then eat a bunch of cereal or a bunch of ice cream or something because their bodies are literally telling them, hey, we're starving, we need more food. And so sometimes people will talk about that and they think, oh, well, I don't have anorexia. I binged that one time, a few weeks ago. But that's also a normal part of struggling with this disease. So if you know somebody who you think may be struggling or kind of on the edge of struggling with this intense fear of weight gain, with restricting their food intake despite the fact that they are hungry and despite the fact that they need more food to really survive, and feeling this disturbance in their body image where they're feeling fat or they're seeing themselves as being bigger than they are, then definitely contact somebody to get an evaluation. It's best to get this early on before it becomes more of a severe thing that's noticeable. So if you could help somebody when they're at the beginning of this versus when they're, they've engaged in this for a really long time, that's going to be really helpful in treatment. So, and if you think for a moment you may be struggling with this, seek support, seek resources. There are definitely resources out there. You can contact me at Real Life Counseling, and there are resources here in Wichita that I'd be happy to support you with. And yeah. So anyway, I hope that helps answer some questions and kind of shed light on anorexia as being more than just a person who doesn't eat. And just some of the other things to look for that I think, sometimes we can see those factors in people versus them hiding the fact that they're not really eating a ton. So yeah, if you have any questions or feedback, I'd love to hear from you. Thanks for watching.